I wasn't panicking at all about being the fake heir to $1 billion fortune, because tomorrow I was getting kicked out on my ass. But before that happened, I had one last piece of business to take care of. I pushed open the door to the room of this story's leading lady, my supposed fiancée, the Ice Queen CEO, Sophia Sterling. My name is Ethan Vance, just your average, run-of-the-mill guy who got dropped into a novel. And my current situation was intense. I was lying in a ridiculously oversized bed, the kind of bed you could host a small gymnastics meet on. The air smelled faintly of her, a cool, clean fragrance that was impossible to place. And lying next to me, beautiful enough to literally stop your heart, was Sophia herself. She was the undisputed main character of this cliché-ridden book I'd found myself in, titled something like The CEO's Secret Weapon Returns. And me? I was the disposable side character, the fake heir engaged to her, destined to be unceremoniously dumped the moment the real hero showed up, only to meet a miserable end. That's right, I was the imposter who'd been living someone else's life for 18 years. According to the original plot, today was the day. The true heir to the Vance fortune, the book's hero, Caleb Thorne, was set to return with all the subtlety of a freight train. My identity would be exposed in front of everyone, and to curry favor with the real deal and his mysterious, all-powerful mentor, the Vance family would toss me, the son they'd raised for 18 years, out like yesterday's trash. The original Ethan, the poor sap whose body I was borrowing, was a complete moron. After the big reveal, he refused to leave. He clung to Sophia's leg, sobbing about how he truly loved her and begging her not to abandon him. The result? Caleb kicked him halfway across the room and had him thrown out like a stray dog, turning him into the laughingstock of the entire city. But I'm not him. I read the book. I wasn't about to make the same mistake. Are you kidding me? Make a scene? Grovel and beg? Not a chance. My plan was simple. Enjoy one final night of absurd luxury before my cover was blown. Then, when they dramatically exposed me, I'd graciously accept their hush money and walk away with a smile. After that, the world was my oyster. I'd be free from these one-dimensional characters and their predictable drama, free to use my severance package to start a new, fantastic life. As for last night, that was a complete accident. I just wanted to sample a bottle of 82 Lafite from the wine cellar, get a taste of the 1% lifestyle. I didn't realize this body had the alcohol tolerance of a housefly. A few glasses in, and the world was spinning. Then, fueled by liquid courage, a truly audacious and frankly idiotic idea popped into my head. I was getting the boot tomorrow. Anyway, my status as Sophia Sterling's fiancé would be null and void. So, before it expired, wasn't it fair for the official fiancé to exercise a few contractual rights? One thing led to another, and I somehow ended up at her bedroom door. The craziest part? It wasn't even locked. And then, well, looking at the woman beside me now, her stunning face serene in sleep, long lashes like butterfly wings fluttering faintly, only one thought crossed my mind. Totally worth it. This whole transdimensional trip was worth it for this moment alone. I carefully slipped out from under the covers and got dressed. Just as I was pulling on my shirt, Sophia's eyelashes fluttered again, and her eyes slowly opened. They were chillingly beautiful, like ancient glaciers. But right now, they held a rare flicker of confusion and something complicated. Our eyes met. The air in the room turned to glass. I saw a flash of shock in her gaze, quickly replaced by a frost that could freeze hell over. You. She managed one word before I cut her off, plastering a look of perfectly calibrated concern and gentleness on my face. You're awake? You had a little too much to drink last night. I was worried something might happen, so I stayed to look after you. I delivered the lie without blinking, my heart rate as steady as a rock. Sophia's brow furrowed. She seemed to be trying to piece something together, but the hangover had her mind in a fog. She looked at me, and the ice in her eyes seemed to thaw just a fraction, replaced by an emotion I couldn't quite read. She didn't say anything else. She just pulled the comforter up higher, wrapping herself in it like a fortress. I shrugged and turned to leave. I'll head downstairs. You get some more rest. I had to go. If my timing was right, Caleb Thorne was about to make his grand entrance. This was the premiere of the season's biggest drama, and I wasn't about to miss it. My startup capital depended on it. When I got to the living room, the atmosphere was thick enough to cut with a knife. My dear old fake dad, Robert Vance, and my darling fake mom, Helen, were perched on the edge of the main sofa, their expressions grim. Standing opposite them was a tall young man with a rebellious fire in his eyes. He was wearing a cheap, faded hoodie and jeans, but he carried himself with an air of world-conquering arrogance that no amount of worn-out fabric could hide. Well, there he is, the man of the hour, Caleb Thorne. The moment I appeared at the top of the stairs, every head snapped in my direction. Helen's gaze was laced with disgust and contempt. Robert's was filled with cold disappointment. And Caleb looked at me and smirked, his eyes full of the kind of amusement you'd reserve for a clown at the circus. So you're Ethan? The imposter who's been warming my seat for 18 years. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the silence, dripping with the judgmental authority of a king addressing a peasant. Here we go, the classic opening line. Next up was the part where the original Ethan was supposed to lose his mind, scream, "I'm the real son of the Vance family," and then get brutally shut down. But I'm not the original Ethan. I looked at Caleb and broke into a wide, brilliant smile. That's me. Bro, you're finally back. I've been waiting for you. My cheerful shout threw everyone for a loop. Caleb's condescending smirk froze on his face. Robert and Helen just stared, completely blindsided by my reaction. Ignoring their stunned silence, I jogged down the stairs and clapped Caleb warmly on the shoulder. Man, you have no idea how rough it must have been for you out there all these years. Here, sit down. From now on, you're the man of the house. Caleb was so thrown off by my sudden friendliness that his whole body went rigid. He had a whole speech of taunts and badass one-liners prepared, and I just derailed all of it. It was like winding up for a haymaker and hitting a pillow that not only absorbed the blow, but also fluffed itself up and asked if your fist was okay. The frustration on his face was priceless. Robert finally snapped out of it. He cleared his throat, his face a thundercloud. Ethan, stop this nonsense. Now that Caleb is back, there's no longer a place for you in this family. He pulled a check from his jacket pocket and slapped it down on the coffee table. This is $10 million. Take it and get out of our sight. From this day forward, you are forbidden from stepping foot in this house again, and you are never to associate yourself with the Vance family in any way. 10 million. My eyes lit up. Holy crap, that was 5 million more than in the book. Was this some kind of butterfly effect from last night's activities? This was fantastic. In front of everyone, I lunged for the coffee table with the speed of a striking cobra and snatched the check, stuffing it safely into my pocket. Then, I turned to Robert and Helen and gave them a deep, respectful bow. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. I'll never forget everything you've done for me. I hope you and Caleb have a wonderful life together. I won't bother you anymore. Done with them, I turned back to a still reeling Caleb, patted his shoulder again, and said in a grave, man-to-man tone, "It's all on you now, bro. By the way, there are a few pairs of unwashed socks under my bed. They're getting a little ripe, so I might want to take care of that. Oh, and best of luck to you and Sophia. Hope you two have a long, happy life and lots of kids." Without another word, I spun on my heel and headed for the front door with a jaunty spring in my step. The living room was dead silent. They were all completely stunned by my smooth, seamless exit strategy. This wasn't how the script was supposed to go. Shouldn't he be crying and begging us to let him stay? Shouldn't he be consumed with jealousy, ready to throw hands with Caleb? Why does he look so damn happy? Just as my hand reached the doorknob, a cold voice echoed from the staircase. Stop. I turned. Sophia was standing there. She'd changed into a sharp, white power suit, her hair pulled back in an elegant bun. With her flawless makeup, she was back to being the untouchable, high and mighty CEO. Except right now, her face was colder than a Siberian winter. Her gaze swept over everyone in the room before landing squarely on me. Where do you think you're going? I looked at her, my stomach doing a little flip. Oh no, you don't. Don't you dare start improvising. I'm so close to freedom, money in hand. I offered her a weak smile. The world is a big place. Thought I'd go see it. Sophia didn't smile back. Her eyes moved from me to Caleb and the Van Cess, and the temperature in the room dropped another 20 degrees. What you all doing? Robert flinched under her glare, but managed to puff out his chest. Sophia, it's good you're here. There's something you need to know. This young man is my real son, Caleb Thorne. Ethan, he was just a mix-up at the hospital. And Sophia cut him off, her voice like ice. So you're kicking him out? Helen's voice turned shrill. What do you mean, kicking him out? We gave him $10 million. After raising him for 18 years, we've more than done our part. 10 million. A scornful smile touched Sophia's lips. 18 years of raising a son is worth a mere 10 million? The Vance family's affection is cheaper than I thought. Robert and Helen's faces flushed with shame and anger. Caleb stepped forward, his eyes locking on Sophia with a mixture of awe and possessiveness. You must be Sophia. My master told me about you. Don't worry. From now on, I, Caleb Thorne, am your fiancé. This imposter isn't worthy of you. He delivered the line with all the swagger of a king, a classic hero move. Sophia, however, didn't even give him a second glance. She was staring only at me, walking toward me one slow, deliberate step at a time. Ethan, don't you have anything to say to me? Her eyes were a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, disappointment, and something else I couldn't decipher. What was I supposed to say? Hey, last night was a beautiful mistake. Let's not make it a thing. I'm taking the money and running. You have fun with your destined hero. I had a feeling that would get me killed on the spot. So I just shrugged, putting on my most innocent face. Say what? Congratulations to you and Caleb. A match made in heaven. Sophia swayed on her feet, the color draining from her face. She looked at me, and the last bit of warmth in her eyes vanished, replaced by an endless, chilling hatred. Fine. Just fine, Ethan Vance. She repeated the word fine, then spun around. Before anyone could react, she swung her hand. Crack. The sharp, clean sound of a slap echoed through the vast living room. Time seemed to freeze. Caleb stood there, clutching his cheek, utterly dumbfounded. He, the legendary wolf of the Northern Territories, undefeated on any battlefield, had just come home to be slapped by his own fiancée. What the hell was happening? The Vances were equally stunned, their mouths hanging open. And me? I was mentally giving Sophia a standing ovation. Nice one. Now that's a leading lady with some backbone. Just then, a mechanical, electronic voice chimed inside my head. Ding. Host has successfully initiated a 5-alarm drama. The ultimate spectator system is now activated. Host, Ethan Vance spectator points. 100 activation bonus. System function. Host can earn spectator points by creating or witnessing conflicts, scandals, and moments of epic humiliation involving the original characters. Points can be used for lottery draws or to purchase items from the system store. Newbie Starter Pack has been delivered. Open now. Holy crap. A system. And it was a drama watching system. This was literally made for me. Barely containing my glee, I mentally shouted, open it. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have received the Newbie Starter Pack. 1. $100 million in cash. 2. A-list actor skill book grants Oscar-worthy acting abilities upon use. 3. Danger sense. Passive skill automatically alerts host to any approaching threats. I stared at the system notification in my mind and almost laughed out loud. $100 million. Add that to the $10 million from the Vances, and I was already a 9-figure man. Plus, I had God-tier acting skills and a personal danger alarm. These were the ultimate tools for watching drama, shifting blame, and making a clean getaway. System, you're the best. Back in the living room, the atmosphere had gone from Arctic to absolute zero. Caleb, nursing his bright red cheek, glared at Sophia with a look of pure humiliation and rage. Why did you hit me? Sophia let out a cold laugh, her eyes looking at him as if he were already dead. Hit you? I'm also breaking the engagement. She pulled a document from her purse, the engagement agreement, and with a sharp rip, tore it to shreds in front of everyone. As of today, I, Sophia Sterling, have nothing to do with the Vance family, and certainly nothing to do with you, Caleb Thorne. This pathetic little show you all cooked up has been truly eye-opening. She thought it was all a conspiracy, that the Vances and Caleb had orchestrated this entire scenario to force her hand. First, they'd let her compromise her reputation with the fake heir, Ethan, and then have the real heir, Caleb, swoop in to play the hero, leaving her with no choice but to accept the marriage. What a brilliant, underhanded scheme. What a despicable plan. The more Sophia thought about it, the angrier she got, her chest heaving. She turned her head, her gaze landing on me again, the hatred in her eyes burning even brighter. And you, Ethan, I was so wrong about you. I thought you were different from them, but you were part of this plan all along. You make me sick. I just stood there. Wait, what? Lady, your ability to jump to conclusions is truly next level. I was just trying to get my money and get out of here. I opened my mouth to try and explain, but Sophia gave me no chance. She shot me one last venomous glare and stormed out, the sharp clicks of her heels on the marble floor sounding like a final judgment. Ethan Vance, you just wait. This isn't over between us. Watching her retreating back, I sighed. What a mess. At that moment, Caleb and Evances finally snapped back to reality. Caleb's face was as dark as a thundercloud. He pointed a shaking finger at me, roaring, "This was all you're doing. What the hell did you do to her?" Robert Vance was equally furious. "You worthless boy. Look what you've done. You've disgraced the Vance family name." I casually cleaned out my ear, the picture of innocence. What's it got to do with me? She's the one who broke the engagement. She's the one who slapped him. Why are you all yelling at me? I held up the check and gave it a little wave. Payment received. Contract fulfilled. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Adios. With that, I ignored the sputtering clowns behind me, pulled open the heavy front door, and stepped out into the glorious sunshine, a free man. Behind me, I could hear Caleb's enraged howl. "Ethan Vance, I, Caleb Thorne, swear I will hunt you down and tear you limb from limb." I turned around, gave him the middle finger, and shouted back with a grin. "Good luck with that. I'm rooting for you." I got out of that gated community as fast as I could. Sitting in the back of a taxi, watching the scenery blur past, I felt incredible. $100 million had been wired directly from the system into a new bank account I'd set up. With the $10 million from the Vances, my net worth was now a cool $110 million. "Driver, take me to the most expensive hotel in the city." "You got it," the driver said, glancing at me in the rearview mirror with a curious expression. I leaned back against the seat and started exploring the system in my head. The ultimate spectator system. Just like the name implied, my job was to be a professional spectator. As long as the main characters were beefing, I got points. If I was the one who personally instigated the drama, the points were even higher. The system had judged that I was the indirect cause of the broken engagement drama, hence the 100 starter points. Those points could be spent in the system store on all sorts of amazing things. I took a quick look. God-tier martial arts, miraculous medical knowledge, blueprints for futuristic tech companies. You name it, they had it. Of course, the point costs were astronomical. Looked like I'd have to do my part to encourage more interactions between Caleb and Sophia. I was daydreaming about my future as a professional pot stirrer when the system dinged again. Ding. Main quest issued. The spectator's code. Quest description. A professional spectator needs a comfortable viewing platform. The host must purchase a personal residence within 24 hours to serve as a future drama watching base. Quest reward. 1,000 spectator points, Michelin star chef skill book. Buy a house. I could definitely get behind that. I immediately told the driver to change course and head for the city's most exclusive residential building, the Pinnacle. The Pinnacle was located in the absolute heart of the city. Rumor had it the prices were so insane that only billionaires and royalty lived there. It was also a key location in the original novel, one of the main stages for Caleb Thorne's flexing and face-slapping. He was supposed to come here, get looked down upon by a snobbish sales manager, and then reveal his true identity, shocking everyone by buying the penthouse in cash. Well, today I was going to steal his thunder. When I walked into the opulent sales office of the Pinnacle, a saleswoman in a sharp suit and perfect makeup greeted me. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the Pinnacle. Do you have an appointment?" Her smile was professional, but I could see a hint of dismissal in her eyes as she scanned my outfit. Dressed in clothes that cost less than $50 total, I probably looked like I'd wandered in by mistake. I shook my head. "No appointment. I'm here to see some apartments." The woman's smile tightened a little. "Of course, sir. My name is Chloe, and I'll be your consultant. What size unit are you interested in?" I glanced around the ridiculously lavish lobby and said coolly, "Show me your biggest, best, and most expensive." Chloe froze for a second, The dismissal in her eyes morphed into undisguised contempt. Another one, she was probably thinking. All talk, no cash. She'd worked here long enough to see all kinds. Young guys trying to impress their girlfriends or film a TikTok, making big claims they could never back up. Sir, our most expensive property is the Celestial Penthouse. It's 9,500 square feet with a private infinity pool and a rooftop helipad. The list price is $380 million. Are you sure that's what you want to see? She enunciated the price clearly, trying to scare me off. Before I could answer, a slimy voice cut in from the side. Hey, Chloe, since when do you waste your time with guys like this? He's dressed like a pizza delivery boy, and he wants to see the pinnacle? Can he even afford the toilet? Chloe flushed with embarrassment. Manager, this gentleman said he wanted to see the Celestial Penthouse. The penthouse. Kevin let out an exaggerated, screeching laugh. Chloe, are you an idiot? Don't let every bum off the street wander in here. It lowers the tone of the whole building. He pointed a finger right at my nose, his face a mask of scorn. Listen, kid, this isn't the place for you. Scram before you stink up the joint. I looked at his smug, punchable face and felt nothing but amusement. The classic judging a book by its cover trope. Too bad for you, buddy. Your hero isn't coming today. I pulled out my phone and said calmly, Do you accept payment in full? Kevin laughed like it was the funniest joke he'd ever heard. In full? Ha ha ha. Kid, do you even know how much the penthouse costs? $380 million. You couldn't afford a single zero on that price tag if you sold every organ in your body. Oh, I said, nodding. Then I dialed my bank's VIP line. Hi, this is Ethan Vance. Yes, I need to authorize a wire transfer. $400 million. To the developer of the Pinnacle. That's right. I need it done now. Immediately. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried through the suddenly silent sales office. Kevin's laughter died in his throat. He sounded like a duck being strangled. Chloe's eyes were wide with disbelief. Less than a minute later, a shriek came from the finance office in the back. It's here. The wire came through. $400 million. It's all here. Boom. The sales office erupted. Everyone stared at me like I had grown a second head. Kevin's face turned a delightful shade of purple. His lips trembled as he pointed at me, unable to form a single word. You. I hung up the phone, walked over to him, and, mimicking his earlier gesture, poked him in the chest. So, can I see the property now, Mr. Manager? Kevin's face went from white to green, sweat pouring down his forehead. He couldn't believe it. This kid in a cheap hoodie could casually drop $400 million like it was pocket change. $400 million. That was an insane amount of money. He could sell condos here for 100 lifetimes and not make a fraction of that. Yes, of course. Sir, my lord, whichever unit you want to see, I'll take you personally. Kevin's back bent into a deep bow, his face plastered with the most sycophantic grin I'd ever seen. The speed of his attitude change was truly impressive. I ignored him and looked at Chloe, who was still frozen in shock. You'll show me the penthouse. Chloe snapped back to reality, looking stunned and honored. And me? Who else? Yes, sir. Right this way, sir. Her face was bright red with excitement as she hurried to lead the way. As I walked past Kevin, I paused and said quietly, I don't want to see you here again. Kevin flinched as if he'd been struck by lightning, all the color draining from his face. He knew he was finished. After offending a VIP who could throw around $400 million without a second thought, his career as a sales manager was officially over. I followed Chloe up to the Celestial Penthouse. 9,500 square feet of pure luxury. 360-degree floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the entire city. State-of-the-art, smart home technology, decadent furnishings, and that shimmering infinity pool sparkling under the afternoon sun. I nodded in satisfaction. Yep, this'll do just fine as my drama-watching headquarters. I'll take it. You can handle the paperwork for me. Of course, Mr. Vance. Chloe's tone was filled with reverence. The way she looked at me was pure hero worship. After signing the papers and getting the keys, I was officially the owner of the most expensive piece of real estate in the city. Ding! Congratulations, host, on completing the main quest. The Spectator's Code. Rewards have been issued. 1,000 spectator points. Michelin Star Chef Skill Book. Use Michelin Star Chef Skill Book now. Use it. Instantly, a deluge of culinary knowledge flooded my brain. Techniques, recipes, flavor profiles. From the 8 great cuisines of China to classic French and Italian, all the way to bizarre molecular gastronomy, I felt like I could win any cooking show on the planet. Not bad at all. Now I could whip up some gourmet snacks while I watched the world burn. It was going to be a good life. I was just getting acquainted with my new palace when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered it casually. Ethan. The voice on the other end was cold and familiar. Sophia. I was a little surprised. How did you get my new number so fast? Something I can help you with. I asked, my tone lazy. Where are you? In a beautiful, scenic place with lots of fresh air, preparing for a quiet retirement. There was a pause on the other end. Then her voice came back, tight with suppressed fury. Ethan, I'm not in the mood for jokes. Do you really think you can take $10 million from the Van Cess and just disappear? Isn't that the idea? Clean break, all business settled. Settled? She scoffed. Did you forget what you did to me last night? What do you take me for? Some woman you can use and discard whenever you please? I rubbed my temples. This was giving me a headache. Look, that was an accident. And besides, we were technically engaged. It's not like it was illegal, right? You. My shameless logic had clearly left her speechless with rage. Ethan, I don't care what games you're playing. You have 1 hour to show up in front of my office building. If you don't, you'll face the consequences. She hung up before I could reply. Listening to the dial tone, I just shrugged. Face the consequences? Ooh, I'm so scared. I switched my phone to silent, tossed it on the couch, and kicked back to watch some TV. An hour later, Sterling Corp. CEO's office. Sophia stared at her phone. An hour and 5 minutes had passed. Ethan hadn't shown up. He hadn't even called or sent a text. He had completely and utterly ignored her. A wave of humiliation and fury, the likes of which she had never felt before, washed over her. Since she was a child, she had been the center of everyone's universe, adored and respected. No one had ever dared to treat her with such disrespect. Fine, Ethan, just fine. Sophia laughed, a cold, humorless sound. She picked up her office intercom, her voice devoid of any warmth. Give me security. I want them to run a trace on a man named Ethan Vance. I want his current location on my desk in 10 minutes. With the Sterling family's resources, finding one person in the city was child's play. Less than 10 minutes later, a file was on her desk. When her eyes fell on the line that read owner, Celestial Penthouse, the Pinnacle, Tower, Sophia's pupils contracted. The Pinnacle, the most exclusive address in the entire city. He was just kicked out of the Vance family with only $10 million. The cheapest unit at the Pinnacle started at $50 million. Where did he get the money? And he was the owner of the Penthouse. She had toured that unit herself. It was listed for $380 million. Even she had thought it was too extravagant and passed on it. How could Ethan possibly afford it? A massive question mark hung in Sophia's mind. She suddenly remembered the way Ethan had acted when he left. Calm, collected, almost smug. Could it be? Was all of this part of his plan? Did he know he was the fake heir all along? Did he set everything up in advance, leaving the Vance family, even getting involved with her in such a way just to... A bold and unbelievable theory began to form in her mind. He was getting revenge. Revenge on the Van Cess for casting him aside, and revenge on her for her coldness. He intentionally orchestrated today's drama, making the Van Cess and Caleb lose face, forcing her to break the engagement, and jeopardizing the partnership between their two families. And he walked away with his seed money, a phoenix rising from the ashes, hiding in the shadows and watching everyone scramble in the chaos he created. This man, his schemes were terrifyingly deep. The more Sophia thought about it, the more convinced she became. She looked at the photo in the file. Ethan's seemingly harmless smile now looked like the smirk of a grandmaster moving his chess pieces. She took a deep breath, her expression hardening with resolve. Ethan Vance, I'm going to find out exactly what you're up to. She grabbed her car keys, stood up, and strode out of her office. She was going to confront this hidden puppet master herself. I, meanwhile, was fully embracing my new life as a 100-millionaire, soaking in my infinity pool, sipping an ice-cold Coke, and gazing out at the city lights. Life didn't get much better than this. Suddenly, the danger sense in my head started beeping frantically. Warning. Warning. High-level female, lead approaching. Proximity, 100 meters. 50 meters. 10 meters. I blinked. The female lead? Sophia? How did she find me? I just climbed out of the pool, still dripping, when the doorbell rang. Wrapping a towel around my waist, I walked to the door and peered through the peephole. Yep, it was her. She was wearing a black trench coat, standing there perfectly still, her face an unreadable mask. But her eyes were like X-rays, trying to see right through the door and into my soul. I opened the door and leaned against the frame. Ms. Sterling, isn't this technically breaking and entering? Sophia ignored my teasing. Her gaze shot past me, taking in the absurdly luxurious living room and the sparkling pool beyond. As she processed it all, a flicker of shock, impossible to hide, crossed her face. She had suspected Ethan was more than he seemed, but she never imagined this. This really was the celestial penthouse. He really had bought it. This only confirmed her theory. Ethan Vance was no simple character. "May I come in?" she asked, her voice returning to its usual cool composure. "Be my guest." I stepped aside and let her in. Sophia took off her trench coat, revealing a perfectly tailored white silk blouse that accentuated her stunning figure. She sat down on the sofa, her eyes scanning the room before locking back onto me. "Now, can we talk properly?" "Talk about what?" I poured myself a glass of water and sat down opposite her. "I thought we'd said everything there is to say." "Ethan, you can drop the act." Sophia's eyes were as sharp as daggers. "You knew all along you weren't a real Vance, didn't you?" I took a sip of water, saying nothing. "You intentionally slept with me the night before Caleb returned, and then you acted so nonchalantly today, all to escalate the conflict between me, the Vancess, and Caleb. You wanted me to be the one to break the engagement and torpedo the partnership between our families. Am I wrong?" I nearly spit out my water. "Lady, your imagination is wasted in the corporate world. You should be writing screenplays. You used the $10 million they gave you, combined with your own hidden funds, to buy this place. It was a statement, wasn't it? To show everyone that even without the Vancess, you could not only survive, but thrive. That you could do even better than before. Correct." I looked at her I've figured it all out expression and couldn't hold it in any longer. I burst out laughing. "Ha ha." My laughter seemed to confuse her. Her brow furrowed. "What's so funny?" "You are Ms. Sterling." I wiped a tear from my eye. "It's a real shame you're not a novelist." "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about you overthinking things," I said with a shrug. "I just figured taking the money and leaving was a much better option than staying and groveling. As for the house, it was an impulse buy. Simple as that." Sophia stared into my eyes, searching for any sign that I was lying. But I was now a man with the A-list actor skill set. My expression was as pure and sincere as a mountain spring. Sophia fell silent. Could it be? Was she really wrong? Was Ethan Vance just an ordinary guy who valued comfort and pleasure above all else? No, impossible. If he was that simple, where did he get the money for this penthouse? And how could it be a coincidence that the night before Caleb's return, he just happened to? None of it was a coincidence. He was putting on an act. The more nonchalant he appeared, the more it proved he had something to hide. Sophia's train of thought had completed a perfect, self-contained loop. She took a deep breath, adjusted her posture, and adopted the tone of a seasoned negotiator. "Fine, Ethan, if you won't admit it, we'll move on. Let's talk about a partnership." "A partnership?" I looked at her intrigued. "What could we possibly partner on? I know your targets are the Vance family and Caleb Thorne." Sophia's eyes burned with intensity. "And thanks to you, I now stand in opposition to them as well. We have a common enemy." So, we join forces," Sophia said, each word deliberate. "You pull the strings from the shadows, and I'll provide the support you need on the front lines. With your cunning and my family's resources, taking them down will be easy." I listened to her, feeling like I'd stepped into an alternate reality. "Lady, Caleb is your destined partner, your soulmate from the novel, and you want to team up with me, the disposable side character, to take out your future husband? Isn't this plotline getting a little out of hand?" Ding. Female lead storyline has undergone a major deviation. The spectators are pleased. Hidden quest triggered. Play along. Quest description. Agree to Sophia Sterling's proposal for a partnership. Reinforce her belief that you are a secret mastermind. Quest reward. 2,000 spectator points. Master Hacker Toolkit. My eyes lit up when I saw the quest. Master Hacker Toolkit. Now, that was a prize worth having. You can't be a proper spectator without access to all the juicy, hidden details. Looks like I had no choice but to agree. I paused for a moment, letting a mysterious smile play on my lips. Ms. Sterling, what makes you think I need your help? Seeing my expression, Sophia became even more certain of her theory. He was faking it. I know you're powerful, but you can't fight a war on your own. Caleb has a mysterious and powerful master behind him, and the Vance family has deep roots in the business world. It's better to have one more ally than one more enemy. Wouldn't you agree? I nodded, pretending to be convinced. You have a point, but how can I trust you? With this, Sophia pulled a file from her briefcase and pushed it across the table. It's a stock transfer agreement for 10% of Sterling Corp. Say the word, and these shares are yours. I picked it up. Sterling Corp was valued in the hundreds of billions. 10% was worth at least $10 billion. Holy hell, this woman did not mess around. I forced myself to remain calm, my face a mask of casual indifference. A nice gesture, but I'm a free spirit. I don't like being tied down. Don't worry, Sophia said immediately. This is purely a partnership. I won't interfere with your plans in any way. I will simply provide assistance when you require it. Deal. I picked up a pen and signed my name on the agreement. Seeing my signature, Sophia finally let out a breath she'd been holding, a small smile gracing her lips. To her, this wasn't just a contract. It was proof that she had successfully tethered this terrifyingly brilliant man to her side. Pleasure doing business with you, she said, extending a hand. I shook it. Her hand was cool and soft. Likewise. Ding. Congratulations, host, on completing the hidden quest. Play along. Rewards have been issued. 2,000 spectator points. Master Hacker Toolkit. In an instant, endless streams of code, programming languages, and network security protocols flooded my mind. I felt like a digital god. Any corner of the world with an internet connection was now my personal playground. Sophia, oblivious to my internal power-up, stood to leave. Since we're allies now, I should warn you about Caleb's first move. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. What's that? From what I've gathered, to prove his worth to the Vances, Caleb is planning to bid on the East District Development plot in 3 days. A lot of companies have their eye on it, including mine. He's trying to secure that land. Exactly, Sophia nodded. He wants to use this project to make a name for himself in the business world overnight. I understood. Another classic scene from the book. Caleb was supposed to dominate the auction, win the bid at an unbelievably low price, and then it would be discovered that the land was rich with rare minerals, increasing its value 100-fold. He would become a legend, solidifying his position as the true Vance heir. Sophia looked at me, a question in her eyes. What are you going to do? I smiled, walking over to the floor-to-ceiling window and looking down at the city below. Don't worry, he won't be jumping for joy for much longer. Sophia watched my confident silhouette and felt a sense of calm settle over her. She knew it. This man already had everything planned out. All she had to do now was sit back and watch how he would play Caleb Thorne like a fiddle. After Sophia left, I immediately started testing out my new master hacker skills. I picked up a laptop from the sofa, and my fingers flew across the keyboard. In less than a minute, the entire city's traffic surveillance network was displayed on my screen. I easily pulled up Caleb's current location. He was driving a Porsche 911, a gift from the Vances, on his way to a private club. A smirk crossed my face as my fingers danced on the keyboard again. Moments later, I had the complete file on that private club. It was a den of debauchery for the rich and spoiled, a place for gambling, drugs, and every other vice imaginable. It was also a key base for one of the book's minor villains. Caleb was going there to recruit a local enforcer named Leo, the Leopard Mancino. Trying to build a crew? Not on my watch. I used my hacking skills to send an anonymous tip to the city's narcotics unit. The email contained detailed information about the drug deals happening at the club, times, locations, code words, and profiles of the key players. It was all there, complete with photographic evidence. Job done. I closed the laptop and went back to my pool. Mission accomplished. No fingerprints left behind. Meanwhile, Caleb pulled his sports car up to the valet at the Dynasty Club. He had just stepped out of the car when several police cruisers screamed around the corner, surrounding the building. A SWAT team swarmed out, storming the club. A few moments later, the sounds of shouting and screaming echoed from inside. A parade of well-dressed men and women were frog-marched out in handcuffs, looking like a conga line of shame. Among them was my target, Leo, the leopard. When Leo saw Caleb, he thought his savior had arrived. "Thorn, Mr. Thorn, help me," he yelled desperately. Caleb's face went pale. "You idiot." He wanted nothing more than to run over and tape Leo's mouth shut. The lead detective noticed the commotion and walked over, his sharp eyes sizing Caleb up. "You know him?" "And no, never seen him before in my life." Caleb shook his head frantically. "He doesn't know you, but he's calling you by name," the detective said with a cold smile. "You're going to have to come with us for questioning." "But Caleb wanted to resist, but looking down the barrel of a policeman's gun, he chickened out. He had returned to conquer the city, not to get shot for assaulting an officer. And so, our esteemed hero, on his very first day back, was cordially invited to the police station for a chat. As for me, the architect of his misfortune, I was comfortably watching my spectator points skyrocket on the system panel. Ding! Original hero Caleb Thorn has suffered a major public humiliation. The spectators are delighted. Spectator points plus 500. Ding! Villain Leo, the leopard, and his crew have been taken down. A cause for celebration. Spectator points plus 300. Excellent. This was almost too easy. By the next morning, the news that Caleb Thorn had spent his first night back in a police holding cell had spread through the city's elite like wildfire. Although the Van Cess quickly bailed him out, the story of the hero's grand return to jail became the hottest joke in every country club and boardroom. Caleb was so furious, he smashed an entire collection of antique vases at the estate. He swore he would find the person behind it and make them pay. His number one suspect was me, but he had no proof. The police had traced the anonymous tip, but the IP address was routed through a dozen foreign servers. It was a digital ghost. And according to the Vance's own investigation, I hadn't left my penthouse at the Pinnacle all day. I had a perfect alibi. The frustration was eating Caleb alive. He was sure it was me, but he couldn't prove a thing. After this series of fiascos, even the Vance family began to have doubts about Caleb's supposed greatness. This legendary figure, he seemed to be all hype. In contrast, the adopted son they had thrown out, Ethan, hadn't ended up homeless and broken as they'd expected. Instead, he had moved into the Pinnacle and was now tangled up with Sophia Sterling. The stark difference between their expectations and reality planted the first seeds of regret in Robert and Helen's minds. Had they made a terrible mistake? I couldn't care less what they were thinking. The past few days had been fantastic. I spent my days day trading, using a financial acumen skill I bought from the system store to make a little pocket money. At night, I experimented with my Michelin star chef skills, cooking myself gourmet feasts. When I was bored, I'd hack into Caleb's phone and computer to see what new brilliant plan he was cooking up, and then I'd help him out by creating a few minor complications. Like, for instance, anonymously forwarding his top secret bid proposal to all his major competitors. Or, for fun, packaging his flirty text messages with his various female admirers and sending them over to Sophia. Ding! Original hero Caleb Thorn's bid proposal has been leaked. Business secrets are no longer secret. Spectator points plus 1,000. Ding! Female lead Sophia Sterling has received evidence of the hero's infidelity. Drama levels critical. Spectator points plus 1,500. Watching the points roll in, I couldn't stop grinning. Caleb, you really are the gift that keeps on giving. After receiving those text message screenshots, Sophia locked herself in her office for the entire day. No one knew what she was thinking. All they knew was that the temperature in the entire executive wing had dropped to sub-zero. Our poor, clueless hero had no idea that I was orchestrating his downfall. All he could think about was how he was going to redeem himself at the land auction in 3 days, to reclaim his honor and silence his critics. He had no idea that a perfectly tailored trap was slowly closing around him. The auction for the East District plot was held as scheduled. The venue was the city's most luxurious 5-star hotel, and every major corporation was in attendance. Caleb arrived dressed in a sharp Armani suit, his hair slicked back, a confident, determined smile on his face. Robert Vance followed behind him, representing the family and offering his support. His entrance turned heads, but not for the reasons he wanted. His legendary first night in jail story had made him infamous. Everyone was looking at him with a mixture of amusement and pity. Caleb felt their stares, but he didn't care. Today, he would shut them all up with a display of absolute power. He was fully prepared. The proposal I had leaked was just a decoy. His real ace in the hole was a tip from his master. There were rare earth minerals under that plot of land. It was a secret that only he knew. He was going to use that inside information to make a killing and earn back the respect of the entire city. The auction began. After a brief introduction, the bidding started. The opening price was $100 million. $110 million. $120. $150. The price climbed steadily, quickly surpassing the $200 million mark. The market valuation for the land was around $250 million. Anything higher would cut into the profit margin, and the bidding began to slow. Caleb remained silent, waiting like a patient hunter for the perfect moment to strike. When the price hit $280 million, with only a couple of hesitant bidders left, he made his move. He raised his paddle, his voice booming through the hall. $300 million. A wave of murmurs swept through the room. $300 million. That was well over the market price. Had the new Vance heir lost his mind? Even Robert was shocked. He tugged on Caleb's sleeve. Caleb, that's too high. We'll lose money. Caleb shot him a look that said, trust me. Dad, he whispered, this land is a guaranteed win. Seeing his son's unwavering confidence, Robert backed down. The $300 million bid scared off the remaining competitors. The auctioneer began his final count. $300 million going once. $300 million going twice. A triumphant smile spread across Caleb's face. He could already see it. Winning the bid, discovering the minerals, stunning the world, marrying Sophia, and ascending to the pinnacle of success. Just as the hammer was about to fall, a cool, clear female voice came from the back of the room. $350 million. Swish. Every head in the room turned in unison. There, surrounded by a team of bodyguards, was Sophia Sterling, gliding into the room like a queen. She was wearing a black power suit, her presence commanding the attention of everyone there. Caleb stared, first in shock, then with a flicker of pleasure. She came to watch me claim my victory, but then he saw who was with her. Walking casually by her side, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt with a lollipop stick hanging out of his mouth, was none other than me. Caleb's pupils shrank to pinpricks. Ethan, what was he doing with Sophia? And she had just bid $350 million. What was she doing? Was she trying to outbid him? Robert Vance's face paled. Sophia's sudden appearance had thrown a wrench in all their plans. Sophia ignored the stunned crowd and took a seat in the front row. I plopped down next to her without a care in the world. I shot Caleb a wide grin and gave my lollipop a little wave. My expression was pure provocation. Caleb looked like he was about to explode. Sophia, what is the meaning of this? He demanded. Sophia glanced at him as if he were a complete stranger. It's a public auction, isn't it? If the price is too high for you, Mr. Thorne, you're free to back out. Caleb was speechless. The auctioneer, recovering from shock, raised his gavel. Sterling Corp. bids $350 million. Do I hear a higher bid? Caleb's fists were clenched so tight his knuckles were white. He couldn't let her take this land. This was his one chance to turn everything around. He gritted his teeth and raised his paddle again. $400 million. The crowd gasped. $400 million. This wasn't just crazy. It was financial suicide. Robert Vance looked like he was about to have a heart attack. Caleb, be reasonable. We're already losing $150 million. Dad, stay out of this. Caleb's eyes were bloodshot. I have to win this land, no matter the cost. I watched his gambler's frenzy and clinked my water glass with Sophia's. The fish is on the hook. Sophia looked at me, a strange light in her eyes. Her admiration for me was growing by the day. It seemed like everything was unfolding exactly as I planned. She didn't bid again, instead making a small, gracious gesture as if to say, "It's all yours." The auctioneer's face was flushed with excitement. This was the most dramatic auction he'd ever hosted. The Vance Group bids $400 million, going once. $400 million, going twice. 400 million, going 3 times. Sold to the Vance Group for $400 million. Bang! As the gavel fell, Caleb slumped into his chair, a look of exhausted euphoria on his face. He did it. He had finally won. He shot a triumphant, gloating look in our direction. See that? His eyes screamed. That's the power of Caleb Thorne. You think you can compete with me? You're not even my league. I gave him a big thumbs up, my smile as bright and innocent as child's. I really hope you're still smiling in an hour, Caleb. As soon as the auction ended, Caleb rushed over to the East District plot with a survey team in tow. He was going to unearth those rare minerals in front of the whole world and rub it in everyone's faces. The media, sensing a huge story, flocked to the site, ready to broadcast the historic discovery. Robert, despite the $400 million hole in his wallet, felt a flicker of hope. Maybe his son really knew something they didn't. Meanwhile, Sophia and I were sitting comfortably in the back of a luxury SUV, watching a live feed from a drone I had hovering over the site. Are you sure there's nothing there? Sophia asked, still a little nervous. Relax. I peeled an orange and handed her half. When I do something, I do it right. I guarantee you, the only thing he's going to dig up is dirt. 3 days ago, I had used my hacking skills to break into the computer of Caleb's mysterious master. It turned out the whole rare mineral story was a fabrication, a test his master had designed for him. I had simply helped the test along by leaking that false information to Caleb through a dozen different untraceable channels. That's why he was so confident. At the survey site, engines roared to life. Caleb stood next to an excavator, confidently giving interviews to the reporters. Mr. Thorne, can you tell us why you were willing to pay $400 million for a plot of land that everyone else deemed worthless? Caleb gave the reporter a mysterious smile and pointed to the ground. Because I see value where others don't. Soon, you will all understand how wise my decision was. The reporters buzzed with speculation. Could there really be a hidden treasure beneath their feet? Finally, under the watchful eye of dozens of cameras, the survey results came in. An engineer in a hard hat ran over to Caleb, holding a report and looking very uncomfortable. Mr. Thorne, we have the results. Well, Caleb asked eagerly, did you find a massive deposit of rare earth minerals? The engineer shook his head. Gold, then. The engineer shook his head again. Diamonds. Still shaking his head, Caleb's heart began to sink. Then what is it? The engineer swallowed hard and said, Mr. Thorne, according to our geoscan, it appears to be the site of an ancient public latrine. A what? Caleb thought he had misheard. A public latrine? Yes, sir. The engineer wiped the sweat from his brow. A very large one. Actually, historically significant. An archaeological treasure, you might say. I was taking a sip of water and sprayed it all over the car window. An ancient public latrine. You couldn't make this stuff up. Even I didn't see that coming. I thought it was just worthless dirt, not a historical monument to human waste. Sophia stared at the screen, her expression of disbelief slowly melting into a beautiful, undeniable smile as she watched Caleb's face cycle through shades of red, purple, and finally, the blackest despair. The site had erupted into chaos. The reporters were going wild. What? A public toilet? He paid $400 million for an ancient outhouse? Is this a joke? Has the new heir to the Vance fortune completely lost his mind? The camera flashes were blinding, capturing every agonizing second of Caleb's humiliation. Caleb felt a wave of dizziness wash over him, the taste of iron filling his mouth. He doubled over and coughed, spitting a mouthful of blood onto the ground. He, the great Caleb Thorne, had just spent $400 million on a 1,000-year-old toilet. How would he ever live this down? Ding. Original hero Caleb Thorne has suffered a legendary public humiliation, complete with blood spitting. The entire world celebrates. Spectator points plus 5,000. Ding. The Vance Group's reputation is in tatters. Stock prices are plummeting. A joyeuse occasion. Spectator points plus 3,000. I looked at the system panel, the points flooding in, and felt like I was on top of the world. Caleb, my dear friend, thank you for your invaluable contribution to my drama-watching career. The $400 million toilet incident made Caleb and the Vance Group the biggest joke in the city. The company's stock value evaporated overnight, losing tens of billions. The board of directors was furious, demanding Caleb be fired and held responsible for the catastrophic loss. Robert Vance was running around like a headless chicken, his hair turning gray as he begged and pleaded to save his real son's position. Caleb, meanwhile, locked himself in his room and didn't come out for 3 days. He couldn't understand it. How could this have happened? How could his master's information have been wrong? Where did it all go wrong? And then he thought of me. He thought of my smug, smiling face, watching him from the sidelines. It had to be him. He was behind this somehow. But how? How could he have possibly orchestrated all of this? The not knowing was worse than the failure itself. It was a creeping, terrifying dread that was driving him insane. And where was I during all of this? I was hosting a pool party at my penthouse. I had used some of my spectator points to buy a gene optimization serum from a store. Not only did it overhaul my physical fitness, but it also gave my looks a significant upgrade. I invited a crowd of gorgeous models to celebrate with me in my infinity pool. I had invited Sophia, too. She hadn't wanted to come, but after some persistent nagging, she finally showed up, a reluctant storm cloud in our sunny celebration. She sat on a lounge chair in a conservative one-piece swimsuit, sipping juice and watching us with a perpetual frown. "Ethan, can you please be serious for 1 minute?" she finally said. "Caleb may have taken a hit, but he's not out of the game. If you let your guard down, you're going to get burned." I climbed out of the pool, dripping water all over the deck, and sat down next to her. "Relax, Ms. Sterling," I said, popping a grape into my mouth. "You've got to enjoy the good times. Life's too short." Sophia rolled her eyes, but there was less ice and more exasperation in her gaze. She was beginning to realize she had no idea who I really was. One moment, I was a master strategist, playing Caleb like a pawn. The next, I was a hedonistic playboy, acting like a kid with a new toy. Which one was the real me? Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered it. A tired, aged voice came through the speaker. Is this Ethan?" I paused. It was Robert Vance. "What do you want?" My voice turned cold. "Ethan, so..." I know I was wrong. Robert's voice was pleading. Can you please come home? The family, it needs you." I almost laughed out loud. Now you need me? Where was this energy when you were throwing me out like garbage? "I believe we severed all ties," I said flatly. "No, we didn't," Robert said desperately. "You'll always be my son. I was a fool, Ethan. I was blind. Please come back. The CEO position at the company, it's yours. Just come back, and the whole company is yours." He was willing to promise me anything to get me to clean up Caleb's mess. Not interested. I hung up and blocked his number. Sophia had heard the whole conversation. She looked at me, her expression complicated. "You're not going back. He did raise you for 18 years. And that give him the right to treat me like a disposable placeholder?" I scoffed. "Come on, Ms. Sterling. You're not that naive." Sophia fell silent. She couldn't argue with that. The Van Cess actions had been unforgivable. "So what's your next move?" "Next move?" I leaned back on the lounge chair and put my feet up. "What do you think? I'm going to keep watching the show." I picked up my phone and pulled up a live news feed. It was a press conference for the Vance Group. A haggard-looking Robert Vance was at the podium, announcing mass layoffs and his own resignation as chairman due to the failed investment. And his successor? His real son, Caleb Thorne. Ding. Vance Group internal conflict is escalating. Father and son are turning on each other. The show is just getting started. Spectator points plus 2,000. I watched the screen, a slow grin spreading across my face. "Oh, Caleb, don't you dare disappoint me." This drama was just getting good. On Caleb Thorne's first day as CEO of the Vance Group, his roars of fury nearly shattered the glass walls of his new corner office. $400 million. I spent $400 million on that land. And you're telling me the best we can do is a historical outhouse theme park? He slammed a stack of proposals onto his desk, spittle flying onto a terrified executive's face. "I'm a legend, not a glorified bathroom attendant." The executive flinched but stayed silent, mentally cursing the new CEO. If you hadn't been so sure there was a gold mine down there, none of us would be in this mess. But Caleb was a believer in destiny. He remembered his master's parting words. From the ashes of defeat, a true victory is born. His eyes lit up with a manic gleam. That's it. We'll build the outhouse theme park. We'll turn this 1,000-year-old toilet into a world-class cultural heritage site. The announcement went viral. I am dying. Is the legendary CEO having a mental breakdown? Spent 400 mil on a toilet. Now wants the toilet to make it back. Caleb Thorne is a business genius, suggested park slogan. Come for the history, stay for the smell. I scrolled through the comments on my phone, laughing so hard I had to wipe tears from my eyes. With a few quick taps, I hacked the marketing firm server. The official promotional banner, which read, "A millennium of sanitation, a cultural treasure," was stealthily replaced. The new banner read, "Infamously aromatic, the king of all toilets." For good measure, I replaced the artist's rendering with a meme of Caleb's face from the auction. The day of the groundbreaking ceremony, the East District plot was swarmed with press. Caleb, dressed in a bespoke suit, stood on a makeshift stage. Behind him, on a massive screen, the words "a king of all toilets" shone brightly for all to see. He cleared his throat, ready to deliver a rousing speech, when a wave of uproarious laughter erupted from the crowd. Caleb froze, glanced behind him, and nearly fainted. "Who did this?" he shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at the screen. "Get the marketing team in here. I'll have them all fired." But no one was listening. The reporter's cameras flashed like a lightning storm, capturing his apoplectic face and the glorious banner behind him. On the edge of the crowd, I leaned against Sophia's car, a lollipop stick hanging from my lips, grinning from ear to ear. "See? Told you this was better than the Super Bowl." Sophia, dressed in an elegant black dress, maintained her usual stoic expression, but her fingers tightened around her coffee cup. She looked from the sputtering Caleb on stage to the carefree man beside her, and the corner of her mouth twitched upwards. That tiny, almost imperceptible smile was captured by a bystander's phone and immediately posted to Twitter. "OMG. Sophia," Sterling smiled. "The Ice Queen is melting. Help. The way she looks at Ethan is everything. I ship it so hard. Ethan and Sophia is trending. I'm making this my whole personality now." At the same moment, the system chimed in my head. Ding. Original hero has suffered a career-ending public humiliation. The spectators are ecstatic. Points plus 5,000. Ding. Female lead has broken character. The entire internet is shipping them. Points plus 5,000. Ding. Congratulations, host. Total points have surpassed 100,000. Unlocking ultimate reward, the easy life. Reward details, permanent financial freedom, unlimited global black card, cooldown-free danger evasion, automatic threat prediction. I raised an eyebrow and let out a low whistle. Not bad. A very good day's work. Sophia shot me a look. "This was you again, wasn't it?" "I'm wounded," I said, holding a hand to my heart. "I'm just an innocent bystander enjoying the show." She didn't call my bluff. She just watched Caleb, who now looked close to tears, and said quietly, "The Vance Group. I think this might really be the end for them." She was right. The king of all toilets ceremony was the final nail in the coffin. Investors dumped their stock, banks called in their loans, and suppliers picketed the headquarters. In 3 short days, the once mighty Vance Group was a hollowed-out shell. Robert Vance's hair went from salt and pepper to snow white. He finally swallowed his pride. The next day, as I was unlocking the doors to my new side project, a restaurant called The Spectator's Seat, I saw 3 familiar figures waiting for me. Robert was in a worn-out old suit. Helen, stripped of her jewelry, looked 10 years older. And Caleb, in a cheap tracksuit, stared at the ground, all his former arrogance gone. They were holding a small basket of fruit, looking like lost children. "Ethan." Robert's voice was hoarse. The moment he saw me, his eyes welled up. "I was wrong. Your father was wrong. Please, can you save the family?" Helen started sobbing. "Ethan, it was all my fault. I shouldn't have treated you that way. For the sake of the 18 years we raised you, please help us." Caleb gritted his teeth and, after a long, painful silence, forced out a single phrase. "I'm asking for your help." I leaned against the doorframe, a smirk playing on my lips. "Save the family? Sure, I can do that. Their faces lit up with hope. But I continued, pointing to a help wanted sign in the window. My new restaurant is a little short-staffed. Robert, you look like you could handle waiting tables. $3,000 a month, room and board included. Helen, you can wash dishes. And as for you, Caleb, I looked him up and down, my smirk widening. You've got the build for a doorman. Just remember to smile. Customer complaints get docked from your pay. $3,000 a month? Caleb looked like he was about to explode. He, the great legend, was being offered a minimum wage job. But then he saw Robert's pleading eyes, thought of the bankrupt company, and finally, his proud head bowed. Okay, and so, the formerly untouchable Vance family became the newest employees at my restaurant. Robert was a clumsy waiter, constantly dropping plates. Helen broke so many dishes she was always in debt to the kitchen manager. And Caleb, as a doorman, couldn't stop himself from sneering at the customers, getting so many complaints that he was eventually forced to plaster on a fake smile and bow to everyone who walked in. As for me, I spent my days in a comfortable booth by the window, eating gourmet food and watching the chaotic show unfold, feeling as relaxed as a retiree in Florida. Sophia became a regular. At first, she came once a week, then every day. She'd sit across from me, order a dessert I'd made myself, and watch me laugh at the Vance's incompetence. One evening, after closing, she watched me clearing a table. Are you ever going to let them go? Go where? I said, polishing a glass. They're learning a valuable lesson here. It's called a job. Sophia was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, Ethan, who are you, really? 1 minute he was a carefree jokester, the next a calculating genius. It was impossible to figure him out, and impossibly attractive. I put the glass down, walked over to her, and leaned in close, my eyes locked on hers. What do you think? Her heart skipped a beat. She could feel the warmth of my breath, smell the faint scent of lime. Her ears turned a delicate shade of pink as she quickly looked away. Idiot! I chuckled and gently ruffled her hair. Just then, Caleb emerged from the kitchen carrying a stack of plates. He saw us, and his face contorted with rage, nearly dropping everything. He hated me. He loathed me. But all he could do was lower his head and pretend he hadn't seen a thing. Of course, he didn't know I was doing it on purpose. Since unlocking my ultimate reward, I discovered a new item in the system store. Cheesy pickup line immunity. No matter how cringe-worthy my lines were, Sophia wouldn't get mad. She'd just blush. So, the restaurant became my stage. Sophia, are you a parking ticket? Because you've got fine written all over you. Sophia, do you believe in love at first sight? Or should I walk by again? At first, she would just glare at me. But slowly, she started firing back witty retorts, which only made me laugh harder. The staff all knew what was going on. They had a betting pool on when I'd finally ask her out. The breakthrough came a month later. I saw Robert Vance sighing in a corner and, taking pity on him, tossed him a folder. Here, follow this plan. It'll save your company. Robert opened it skeptically. Inside was a detailed proposal to turn the ancient latrine and the surrounding wasteland into a memeland theme park, complete with designs for merchandise based on all of Caleb's most humiliating moments. Will this actually work? He asked, bewildered. Only one way to find out, I said, waving him away. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a date with Ms. Sterling. To everyone's astonishment, the ridiculous plan was a massive success. The theme park was a hit. It was filled with merchandise celebrating Caleb's failures, toilet-shaped keychains, T-shirts with the legend Weeps printed on them, and commemorative coins that read, a $400 million lesson. People loved the irony. The park was packed every day. The Vance Group not only paid off its debts, but became more profitable than ever. Robert and Helen were eternally grateful, treating me like a king. Caleb was a changed man. He called me boss and never spoke of being a legend again. On the 1-year anniversary of my restaurant, I threw a massive party on the rooftop garden of the Pinnacle. The night was clear, the city lights twinkling below. I stood in the center of the garden, holding a microphone, looking at the crowd of friends and employees, my eyes finding Sophia. Everyone, I have an important announcement. The garden fell silent. My gaze locked with Sophia's, and a warm smile spread across my face. Ms. Sophia Sterling, from the first moment I saw you in that villa, I knew that no drama in the world could ever be as interesting as you. Sophia's heart leaped. I'm a simple guy. I continued. I don't want to conquer the world. I just want to spend the rest of my life with you, watching other people's drama, laughing at the world, and building our own happy life. I got down on one knee and pulled a small box from my pocket. Sophia Sterling, will you marry me? A collective gasp went through the crowd, followed by thunderous applause. Sophia looked at me, her eyes shining, her lips curving into the most beautiful smile I had ever seen. She nodded, her voice clear and strong. Yes, I will. I grinned, sliding the ring onto her finger before standing up and pulling her into a kiss. The cameras flashed, and the cheers were deafening. In a quiet corner, Robert and Helen were crying tears of joy. Caleb grumbled. He doesn't deserve her, but he was clapping along with everyone else. And in my head, the system delivered its final message. Ding! Host has completed the ultimate quest. Find a lifelong drama-watching partner. Congratulations on achieving the perfect ending. Reward: a lifetime of worry-free spectating and maximum happiness. System reminder: for the rest of your days, remember to enjoy the show. Together, I held the woman I loved in my arms, looked up at the stars, and smiled. This new life was definitely worth it. End.